Coming up in this episode of the KickCast, a special interview about layers, a mechanical keypad for gamers, and add some fizz to any liquid on the go. So sit back and relax. It's time for the KickCast. Hey everybody, it is time for another episode of the KickCast, the podcast where we go out and find cool projects and let you know if you should backtrack or sack them. I am one half of the show, Ktdata, and joining me is a man who is already continuing his mission to fill the future filmmakers and media creators of the world with valuable knowledge so they don't do stupid things like film vertically on their phone for videos.
That is tomorrow's lesson.
Yep, the one and only Drew Tyler. How you doing today, my friend?
Very good. That is exactly what we're talking about tomorrow, second day of class, and I'm going to get right in there real fast and say, do not shoot vertically on your phone. It's built this way for a reason. That is what I do. How are you doing, man?
I am doing great. I am excited. I love your festive shirt.
Thank you. It keeps it summer for as long as possible.
I have to ask, do you have one of those shirts that like when on camera it causes moire, so it looks like you guys know what you see when they're like wearing striped shirts and then it just like it's like dances on screen. You're like, what's going on?
Yep. I have several of those.
I'm glad that you're here. And before we jump into our projects tonight, and we have a special interview for you guys too, we have a quick bit of news and our kick shout. So our first bit of news, this might actually tie into our interview later on. It is actually a pre-launch checklist for projects that Forbes has put together. And on the checklist, if I can hit the right buttons, maybe not. On the checklist, it has some of the things that we always mention a lot. So one of the things is doing your research. How many times have we had mentioned do your research for the stuff to work? Because you'll see on our kick shouts or our not our kick shouts, our sacks of the week. Usually this is not done. Doing a good research, and then they also suggest looking back at past projects in the similar field and determining how long and how you want to format your project to make it work, because I mean, learn from other people's stuff. And right. I love this line right here. If you choose Kickstarter as a platform for crowdfunding, you can switch to the in-demand Indiegogo program once your campaign is over and you're fully funded. Like have you noticed that where it seems to be happening more and more often?
Yeah, you'll run something and get to the point where it's like, okay, it's a real thing now, and then you move over to the in-demand and kind of use that as almost a sales channel. I've seen a lot of that actually. Yeah.
Yep. And then so it has that. It has the use the right tools and services. So like Backer Club, Kick Booster. I think Backer Club is actually doing very well now because I actually use them as kind of a starting point to look for projects sometimes. And more often than not, when I go there, all their projects are funded. So it seems like they're doing, if they may not be the full cause for it, but they may be helping with kind of that kind of stuff too. And then here's one that I think you know better than I do is using ads to get subscribers before launch, like Facebook ads, YouTube ads, all that kind of stuff, and your social media tools to build up your user base prior to the project launching, right?
Exactly. And we talk about that a lot. You get the engine revving before you take off out of the gateway, and so that is. You find those people that are going to be interested in it. If it's not your immediate group and the people that love you, then it is pushing the ads that are at least going to collect some names and numbers of people that will be the backers. So that's a great one.
Yeah, I'm like I've backed a few Kickstarter projects where they've shown up in my Facebook feed. Like I used to be the guy like I'm never going to click anything on Facebook in an ad because I'm not going to fall to that traps. And then their algorithm is so good that it filters out. I'm like, oh, that looks actually cool. Something I'd back, and I'd click on it and do that. The other one is prepare your media pack. Pre-launch is the best time to prepare your campaign assets. This is a new one. Go for lifestyle images rather than those with white backgrounds. These images show your product in a real life situation to resonate with your potential backers. You may also consider using GIFs to show exactly how your product works. I'm a fan of the animated GIF showing up.
Right. Yep.
And then create your reward tiers, which that one always boggles my mind. Where you'll be like a week into a project and like, oh yeah, we just created this new reward tier because all of you asked for it. I'm like, why didn't you think of that before?
Right. That should have been covered before. It's true.
Yep. All right. So that's all the news we have. So we have a quick nerd shouts or kick shouts. Wow, I can talk, man. But
I
can
like
talk.
nerd shouts too.
Yeah. Kick shouts. These are our Twitter link shout outs. If you guys ever want to be featured here, just shoot us a tweet because we were looking for 120 words or less.
Quickies.
With the link of your project and then just a quick description. So what we have today is Naughty Wordplay. And Naughty Wordplay is an adult party game for 3 to 12 players that will have everyone in stitches throughout. There will be no predetermined cards here. It's all about individual creativity. I looked at it, think of Cards Against Humanity, except you make your own cards.
Oh. I like where okay.
Yeah, there's a die that you roll 3 times, and it has all the letters of the alphabet on it. So you have to write a 3-word phrase, and each of the words have to start with one of those letters. In that order.
I like that. Okay.
So that is Naughty Wordplay on Kickstarter. All right, Drew. I'm excited for our first one because we haven't done this in a while, but we have a special guest on the show today. And so we're going to have an interview with Scott Wisner. If you guys
Scott Wisner.
Wisner? Yeah.
Wisner.
If you guys remember 3 years ago, if you guys were around here 3 years ago, we actually covered his Vanishing Ink book. Still one of my favorite books, so let's just go on to the interview. All right, guys, we have a super, super special guest today, and I'm excited because about 3 years ago, we actually featured one of his projects. So, Drew, do you want to introduce our special guest that we have today?
Absolutely. So I'm pretty excited about this. We decided to ask Scott to join us again because very much today, he launched a Kickstarter. By the time you watch this in recording, it might be a day or two, but you still have time to jump on. He's launched another Kickstarter for one of his animation projects. Scott's done a lot of work on some pretty big name films in the animation department. He's here now in Utah, so he's near to us. So when he reached out to tell me about his project that he's working on currently, I asked him if he'd jump on the show and kind of talk to us about the process and about the project. So, Scott, do you want to tell us a little bit about the project that you're just launching?
Yeah. So the first time I appeared on this show is for a book called Vanishing Ink.
A great book.
And I was able to pitch that book after we successfully kickstarted it and then printed it. I pitched it at 5 different studios as an animated film. So it was a really awesome result. And as I was doing that, these former heads of animation from DreamWorks, who one of them was my mentor, he saw the project and he said, "Do you want to do a piece of Vanishing Ink as like a short film?" And he told me about this company called Nimble Collective, where you can live anywhere in the world and work online through their studio pipeline that they're building. And I told him that I'd love to pitch a project, but I had a ton of other ideas that I wanted to pitch. So I came with 3 ideas, and they picked layers just right off the bat. So I didn't ever get to pitch my other 2 ideas. And
that's good, I guess.
Yeah. We spent about 2 to 2.5 years. Like, I was working in the morning as I was working on animated films. I would work on layers and do all the storyboards, and I was doing the visual development and figuring out the story. And I redid the storyboard several times. And finally, we got it to a point where they said, "Okay, we have budgets that we're going to give to films. Let's possibly give one to layers. We'll put it in front of a blind panel and give you a budget." But the budgets never came for anybody. And so it was on the shelf for a while, and they just came to me a month ago and said, "Let's do a Kickstarter." So I have thrown this Kickstarter together in a month.
Well, I mean, you say you've thrown us together, but your day job and a lot of your history, you've done Kickstarter-y things. Like, you've not only had your own projects that have been successfully funded, but you do creative work for other Kickstarters. So you know what you're doing, right? Yeah. I mean, it's not like you threw it together. What would be like maybe 1 or 2 of your key tips for people that are thinking about throwing a Kickstarter together? What would be a couple of quick tips to be like, do this and do that?
That's tough. There's just so much to it, right? That's why you guys have spent 120 episodes. Is that how many?
Yeah.
Doing this show. So
there's
just
to it.
So much to it. And yeah, Funded Today who I've built their creative division. They've worked with like thousands of campaigns, more than anybody else has worked with. And at the same time, they still are surprised. They're still learning and growing in their knowledge. So I would say, I was thinking about this morning. I did things completely differently before. Like, I worked a lot on my website, which nobody goes to my website. I don't know why I was working on my website, but I worked a lot. I've worked first on my website, and then I did other things. And then so this time, I worked on the website last. That was the very last thing I did. And it was like in an hour, I just threw those things where they needed to go and didn't focus too much on it. And I think the biggest thing to crowdfunding is you need a crowd. It's finding the crowd, which is why I reached out to you, Drew, and asked if you would want to be a part of the project, because I knew you had an interest in media, and I was building my crowd as I was going.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. When I got your email that you're launching something, I'm like, oh, he's getting money from me. I didn't even know what you're doing. Like, I just saw your name and the title and said Kickstarter. I'm like, oh, he's getting my money. I was like, there was no like debate about it. I'm like, I just gotta find time to click back, and there you go.
Yeah, awesome. Well, at Funded Today, we say that the most important part of your campaign is your product. And then if you work with Funded Today, and you have a promotional agency who helps you continually drive a crowd towards your campaign, then your next important thing is your video. Then your next important thing would be the crowd itself, but the crowd can be generated by a company like Funded Today, or you can just build that organically and have your own crowd.
But that makes a big difference, right? I mean, having people ready to go and getting them primed so that on day one you're able to say, when I launch this Kickstarter, I would love your help to back it on day one, to share it, right? Because then that crowd becomes a little bit louder voice all at once. So there's a hustle and a bustle that happens, and sometimes we think it's filled of dreams. So if I build it, it'll just happen. If I come up with a great idea, it'll happen. And so we harp on that all the time. Talk a little bit more about video. You shared with us before this. You were talking about a project that you were part of. That it wasn't a matter of changing the video. It was just, it was just a simple adaptation of the video that changed the success of a project. Yeah,
the product was called Shotbox 2.0. Just this little light box that you pull it up, and you just take pictures with your camera for Etsy and stuff. And the first campaign, they raised 100-something thousand. And so they thought, and it was that nature of like how Kickstarter was earlier on, where you could just throw something up and people would just back it and it would make $100,000. And so he assumed that the second time he threw his campaign up there that it would do the same thing. But it didn't. And they hired Funded Today, and Funded Today couldn't get them much further past 9,000. And their goal was 10. And they were pretty close to the end. So the co-founder of our company, Thomas Alvord, he looked at the project and he said, you know what, you really need to change your video. And this was just when I started building the division. So it was actually really just me. And so I looked at the video and I figured out what was wrong, what needed to be improved. And I wrote a new script and I recorded a new voiceover and I just re-edited the video. And I took one new still image, and from that they raised $184,000 on Kickstarter. And then they went to in-demand on Indiegogo, and it raised probably somewhere from $220 to $230.
Wow.
Total.
All because you were able to take the messaging and say it's missing something, and you were able to find it and tweak it.
Yeah, just because the video changed.
Nice. Well, that's awesome, and I think it's key, because that is where a lot of us will just get a feel for the product and for everything that's going on. Tell us about what you did. Let's go back to Layers. Tell us what you did with the project for Layers, what that story is, and kind of pitch it to us. Tell us what we should be backing right now.
Well, Layers is a film about this woman who has to climb this mountain so she doesn't starve to death. But the only thing she has to get up there, she's like this big, bulky, that's exactly what she is. She's this big, bulky, Russian-looking woman, and she can't really climb. She's old, she's tired, she has this chronic cough. And so the only thing that gets her up is when she takes a layer off, it becomes a memory. And that memory helps her in some way as she climbs up the mountain. And I won't give too much more away, but it's very colorful, it's kind of like telling this woman's story backward in a way, which is a lot of fun. It also deals with, there's a theory in psychology that if you walk, I feel like I'm doing my video pitch again.
It's a good story.
If you walk through the problem that you're having, all the events that led up to it, in your mind, then you actually solve the problem. And you'll more than solve the problem, you'll find strength to be able to conquer it. It's really cool. I used it when I was unemployed. I used it as I was getting a Kickstarter together the past month. It helps you find these resources you didn't realize you had.
That's cool. And that's something I think I liked about your Kickstarter page, is because you talk about that process in the video and how that ties in to the later story. But then you also say, here on the page, I'll show you what I'm talking about specifically with this methodology of kind of revisiting problem moments to get over obstacles. I love that. So it was almost like a value add within the Kickstarter. It wasn't just pitch. It was like, here, this might help you too.
That was a big deal for me. I didn't want this to be. I feel so. It must be the artist in me, but I feel a little bit crummy being a salesman.
It's hard to do.
I think all of us are terrible at that. But
I just feel crummy asking people for money, and so I want to give people something of value, especially because the film, once I finish it, it will be of value to people. It will hopefully entertain them. It'll hopefully bring them joy. Hopefully, ignite something in them as they watch it. So
I can agree with that. I think that's a fantastic thing. So the project itself, Layers, is an animated short. The amount that you're looking for, I think, is it 40,000? Is the amount for this project?
That's the minimum. Yeah,
and that's the minimum. And you have a great breakdown. You've got, I believe, a pie chart that kind of breaks it all down and says, I need this much for animators, I need this much for rewards, I need this much for all the parts.
And it's really a percentage.
Yeah,
so as we scale to, ideally we'd like a 70,000 budget, but that's really ambitious, right? And we'd like it even to be up over 100,000. This project, when I had Nimble put a budget together for it, it was $365,000 to do this short film properly. So for us to ask for 40 or a smaller amount is really crazy.
It kind of is. And most people, I guess, don't know how much it really costs to do animation. So how much does it cost to do a minute of DreamWorks style animation?
Like for a feature film?
Yeah. Budget wise.
$1 million.
And that's nuts. That's just blowing the mind, right?
Nuts.
But how many people touch that 1 minute? I mean, you have the storyboard artists, the storyboards, the colors, the write-ups.
Yeah, CG is much more expensive because you have riggers you have modelers who build the character, riggers who make the bones, and even like the face is so complex to rig in an animated character. And then you have animators who move it around, and then you have surfacing artists who put the texture on, and you have other people who figure out you probably don't want to hear all of the animation.
I think we do.
Yeah, I love it. Like I know a friend who actually worked at Pixar before, and his entire job wasn't even to do any animating. His entire job was to make sure the software that made Sully's fur look natural worked properly. Like that was his entire job, was to program that, and then another person actually was working on the actual animation for that. But that's his job.
Yeah,
was to do
so
the
he
models.
worked in simulation. Yeah. And tools. So
and like it's just it's insane how many people, like, just to do one little thing
because my experience with animation, when somebody says, can you do animation or 2D animation, right? I sit in After Effects and I'm like, I don't know, man, $100 an hour and I will try to make your logo like move somewhere. So you go $1 million for a finished minute, in the Hollywood style, it's like, wow, how many people are touching this? But we're kind of like what we see, what we get in all the animations and in all the great movies that are coming out. There's an expectation of like this simulation, like real things that look like you can't even tell between real, what's real and what's animated. So you're aiming for that kind of high quality, but yet you're doing it on this kind of really shoestring budget.
Yeah, I'm also doing it hand drawn, which cuts the jobs in a third or a fourth, like the amount of man labor you need, or woman labor too.
Because you're sketching, right? Because you're an artist, and so you're doing a lot of the art, and they're building off of that probably.
Yeah, we're talking about getting some, like a really good star animator on it though.
Nice.
and have kind of a bulk of that animation budget go to him, and then have some people who would love to work with somebody like him and be mentored by somebody like him also work on the project.
Very cool.
So I probably will draw a sequence and reap those rewards.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I know you said you put this together in 30 days. This page does not look like it was put together in 30 days. Like, you have everything on this page that, like, we look for in projects, and you even, like, snuck in this animated GIF that took me a little while. I'm like, how did he oh, that's an animated GIF that he managed to stick into here. That doesn't look like everybody else's. Or GIF. Somebody's going to write me and yell at me.
Is it a GIF or a GIF? Who knows?
But, like, it has everything. You have the rewards broken down, like, perfectly, and this is what I like. When you look for a project, I'm looking for things like this, because sometimes it's like a wall of text and I'm just like, too much reading, brain hurt, can't do more.
Yep. We don't like those walls of text. They're dangerous.
No. Keep it moving. KT, do you have any other questions for Scott?
I wish I had 70,000 just to give you right now. Like, I highly encourage people to go look at this, because, like, I loved Vanished Inked. That was, like, one of my favorite books of all time. Like,
what?
I seriously loved it. And I remember talking to Drew one time, like, dude, like, this book is amazing. It reads almost like a script. There should be a movie version of this. So that makes me super excited to actually see this story, because, like, I know you have that mind for it to just construct it, and I'm just, like, super excited for you. And that's why I'm like, man, why can't I have unlimited funds? I totally just
Well, I really like the concept that you've got for this story. That there's there's like a healing power to it. That it's more than just an entertainment story. It's a help support, make people's lives better story, and that I think that's fantastic. I'm excited to see what those memories are that she has and how that kind of translates. So I'm excited to see this fund. Let's wrap up with this. You've got about another 29 days to go. What's the plan? What's the game plan to get you past this 10%? Kick it all the way to the end. What are you planning?
Well, I'm going to be giving a presentation at A Million Cups.
Nice.
Which is an event that happens right behind me here. And as part of that, I guess they put us on a show. It's called something Untamed. PC. It's like Park City Untamed. It's like a little talk show that I'll go and appear on Friday. And then we have other audiences that we're looking to push it out to. We're hoping to get some PR from the Standard and hopefully beyond. And it's still kind of a stab in the dark just to raise that full $40,000.
And to convince people, probably to convince them that a short of animation quality can cost that much. Like, I don't think I've ever pitched a gig to anybody that was in that range. And if it was probably in like an hour and a half show, or or something that was long form. So this is going to be a challenge. But
yeah, I've also applied for a grant that could possibly completely replace this. Or if I raised both, then we would have a nice healthy budget, which is actually really the hope.
Yeah.
But you can't really count your eggs before they hatch, right?
But you got to hunt for as many eggs as you can at one time. Right?
Exactly.
Get them all lined up. Well, that's fantastic.
Exactly. Yeah. I still have a bunch of backers who are planning on backing, and actually, what's really cool is when I was unemployed, one of the movies that really touched me was Rise of the Guardians. Mm-hmm. Which I know is supposed to be a kid's movie, but it reignited my passion for animation. The director of that is going to back my project.
That's cool.
That's way cool.
That's cool.
And,
yes.
Yeah, it's really awesome. So we'll just see what we can do, see what we can get, and then adjust and make a plan for there. It's actually very interesting. I was already planning on launching a Kickstarter for my next book / screenplay. And
can I give you money for that now too?
Yeah. Yeah, that'll probably launch next year. Because it was going to launch in November, but now it's like next year. But,
so when the Nibble Collective came and said, we wanted to work with you to get this moved through a Kickstarter, that kind of supplanted.
They're still in their beta phase of testing their software, where you can actually run their software in your web browser, which is really weird. But their cloud runs your software. You don't need it on your computer. And so they're now testing. They've already tested the CG, like the computer generated software. Now they want to test the hand drawn 2D animated software. And so they said, you're the perfect candidate. We'll treat you like a star. We'll, give you all the star treatment. And I only had this little window before next year. They'll release it to the public, and then anybody can go in and use Nimble's system. So,
and this is what you were telling us before, that you called the kind of an online studio pipeline, where people can do their animation work and, like we were saying, put their hands on this project from wherever they happen to be. So you don't have to, you're not finding a team and bringing them together under one building. You're looking for the perfect people that are in the perfect position to just be where they are and contribute, right?
Yeah, and they could be outside of the country or inside the country, wherever.
Very cool.
And it's pretty inspiring. My online animation school was like that. After I went to Weber State, I did an online animation program, and my mentors were from all around the U.S. There weren't any from outside the U.S., but it was still pretty awesome that I could meet with a mentor who worked at Pixar and get his support and feedback on my work.
Yeah, that's very helpful. I think that's fantastic. Well, thanks for joining us today, for giving us all that spiel. And last pitch for Layers, if you want to tell our fans where they can find it and what they should be backing it at.
You can find it at either scottweiser.com/buy, BUY, or you can go to Kickstarter and search for Layers, or you guys have a link, right?
Yep,
we'll somewhere.
We'll have a link in the show notes, and if you guys are wondering why I'm looking so distracted, because I was actually just backing the project while so.
And look, the number went up. Actually, it's gone up $200 since we've been talking.
See, doing it right. We're doing it right.
Awesome. Yeah, and just a little bit of an incentive for you guys to back this. This would, if we get this to work, we'll be the first animation studio in Ogden ever.
Ooh.
So it's a chance to be part of something that can be really, significant. And the plans after Layers is, once we get Layers done, we'll start pitching to companies like, big companies that have big budgets to do animated short films, which will create jobs for animators so they can live anywhere, or work for me. And eventually, I'll just keep pitching feature films, and that could become a reality too. So you have the opportunity to become part of something. And I think that's really the reason that people back a Kickstarter. It's not because they just want a product. It's because they want to become part of something really cool. And I have people, like most people I talk to, they're like, I want to be part of something creative. Well, this is the chance to be part of something creative. We'll have monthly hangouts where everybody can come and see what we're working on and ask questions and all that. So
that's perfect. That's an awesome way to kind of engage and feedback and say, hey, thanks for getting us this far and come along with us. That's fantastic. Good.
That's the hope.
Yep.
That's great.
Yeah, Scott, thank you so much for, taking the time and being on the show and stuff, because we love it. And you already can tell I am a huge fanboy. Drew, I'm probably the biggest fanboy for Drew, but I love your work. I love the art and everything with it too. So
that's hard to compete with Drew.
Yeah. That's why I got super excited, and good thing nobody was in my office. But Drew's like, "Hey, we can probably get Scott." I'm like, "Oh, yay!" And I was super excited. So everybody, make sure you guys go check out Layers, and if you want a sample of what Scott can do, go buy a copy of Vanishing Ink. I think you can even get an audiobook version of it now too on Amazon, the
audio version is not very well reviewed though. The reviews I don't think people like the recording. So sorry to unplug my video, but I know that the people have a lot better experience with the hardcover novel.
Yeah,
it's a good story. It's great
with illustrations and everything.
Yeah,
here it is actually.
Do you have there you go. Yep.
Yeah, let's pull up an illustration. There's an illustration in there.
It's some good art. That's what I love about it. It's fantastic.
Yeah, so you can expect that and more in awesome movie form. So I'm super, super excited for it. And yeah, again, thank you so much for being on the show.
Yep.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Appreciate it, Scott.
Yeah, take care.
Bye-bye.
Okay, that was a awesome interview with Scott. Drew, you always have the hookups, man. I
tell you, it's the degrees of Drew.
It's always the degrees of Drew. I love it. So again, if you guys haven't yet, go find Layers on Kickstarter and back it. I backed it during the interview. So that's you probably don't teach your students.
Professional,
You
totally
don't
professional.
teach your students that in class, right? It's like while you're interviewing someone, you should just pull up their website and just back their project while they're talking to them.
Yeah, even better. Ask for their autograph while you're sitting there with them, and be like, "Governor, I know you're trying to change the way you run the state, but for a minute, could you just sign this?"
Yeah,
that's fun. No, it's great. It's great to have Scott on. I love that.
Mm-hmm. All right, so now we only have 2 projects today because we had Scott on the show, and we don't want to keep you here forever. So the first one, this is one. Drew, you like the video games, right?
I play lots of video games. I'm not good at certain types, but I enjoy them quite a bit.
Yep. How good are you on the keyboards with the video games?
Back in the day when I play early like Baldur's Quest, what was that? Like Skyrim, like pre-Skyrim, I could do it. I could get around. I did fine.
Is that Morrowind?
Yes, back in the Morrowind days. I don't do that anymore, but I was good back then.
But that had like a ton of keyboard presses, right? If I can remember right. But sometimes you'd only be really using, it had a lot of options, but most of the time when you're like in battle and stuff, you're only using like 5 or 10 of them, right?
Right. You didn't need them all the time. Totally.
Yep. So our first project of the night, did you ever get on the mechanical keyboard craze like I am?
No, you ride that train solo.
So our first project is actually one of those mini gamepads. So have you ever seen like those MMO players where they'll put all their macros and stuff onto these keys, and instead of having a keyboard, it'll just be this little thing with the keys to set off their macros and stuff. This is a mechanical keyboard version of that. It's called the Keypad Hunter 1.0. And
I like the name.
It is designed to work with your left hand, and this actually kind of works like the shuttle I got you, right? The editing shuttle.
Yeah.
Where you just stick.
Mine's right. I use mine on my right hand, but yeah, it's totally.
Yeah. So you stick your hand on it, and it has like the space bar. It has your WASD, so you can do your moving, and then it has a bunch of other hotkeys on there, but they're all mechanical switches. So if you're like me and like the clicky and the stiffness of a keyboard,
yes, you like clicky.
That will work for you. You can see it on the screen. It's I like how minimal it is, because I've seen some of them where they're just like giant, and then desk space these days is pretty much a premium. So you have one of these, your keyboard and your mouse on there. It's like I'm taking up way too much room. But I like it, and so they're all mechanical switches, and you should be able to program. So there's 12 buttons, 5 positions of the joystick, and a quick trigger. And I believe you can. It's USB-C. Yeah. I enjoy the USB-C connector, but you should be able to customize some of these buttons too, because you see F1 to 4 on there, and then your plus, and then your WASDs. So could you see yourself using one of these? Say, you get addicted to World of Warcraft?
I think it's built really well. I mean, it's perfect for gaming. I think with the hands, where they are. I would love the idea of mechanical, especially having not just an entire keyboard, but just this that I could use for that purpose. And the joystick, like there's so many good things about this that I think it would be it's kind of cool.
Yeah, it looks really nice too, and I like about this because a lot of those macro ones the reason I don't have one, because you and we both mostly use Mac, right? Mac OS.
Yep.
So the software sometimes doesn't work for it. So it's like, I'm not going to pay $80 for this if I can't use it. This one, they're developing it so it works for XP, oddly. 7, Windows XP 7, 8, and 10, Linux, and Mac OS. So you should be able to map it on any of the systems you want. Oh, and I forgot, it has feedback control, so it vibrates too.
Which I think is dang cool. Like that just, you don't get a lot of keyboards that do that. That haptic is, I like that a lot.
And I like how simple it is to program too. If you look at the programming map, it gives you a keyboard and you essentially just click on what you want each of the buttons to map to. So, because like I've seen a couple where you're like, all right, so now you press the key on the keyboard, then you got to press the key on the thing, and then you got to map it, and like that's too much.
Too much. That's too much work. Yeah, this is a really well thought out. It's very well designed. It looks. What I love about this project is that they're far enough along that it does not look like a prototype or like, well, we think it might look like this. It feels like they've gone through enough iterations and tested it enough that this is it. This is what works, and this is what's best for gamers. So it feels vetted.
Mm-hmm. Now, how much are you willing to pay for this? And keep in mind, gamers are kind of crazy sometimes for the peripherals.
They're crazy, and I have not looked at any of the tiers of the prices yet. I would say if you're comparing this to something similar to like the shuttle, because it's kind of a similar idea, that it's probably in the 150 to 200 range.
So if you jump in for Super Early Bird, it's $60, and they have 200 of those, or $70 for the Early Bird, or regular $80.
That is amazing.
I mean, I like at $80. That's about the same price of everything else, and this looks a lot cleaner and lighter than the
Oh,
ones.
yeah.
So yeah, I like it. This one is a track for me, just because I don't think a lot of like everyday people are going to use it. But if it gets close, I would probably back it to get them over their hump.
I'll join you in that track. I think that's exactly what it is. I think it's a unique kind of device accessory that we haven't really covered before or seen. It's funny that they didn't add Bluetooth to it, but they're looking for speed. You don't want any sort of lag or anything in between you and the game. And so having that USB-C is the way to go for this. I just joke because we always add Bluetooth to everything.
Maybe that's the next version that's going to get it.
That's right.
Yep.
But I totally tracked for me as well.
Yep, and I totally forgot to mention all our projects tonight are actually picked by you guys, because what happened was we put normally on the day of the show, I put out a poll where there's 3 projects and you guys can vote, and all 3 of them tied. So we're picking 2 of them to put on there. The one we didn't put on is a wireless light switch. That the light switch portion doesn't use any batteries or power at all. It generates its own, and it's wireless. It's pretty cool.
I can still figure it out.
But yeah, so to our second and last project of the night is it's called the Bubble Cap. So Drew, are you a big soda drinker?
I am. I am.
Yes.
I am bad. In fact, this is how bad it is. One of my favorite servers at Fizz near my house is in one of my classes. And so just introducing her to the class, I was like, oh, yeah, I know her. She's my dealer. She gets me my drinks every day.
Did she sign up for like their 7 a.m. class and just brings you in a Fizz in the morning?
No, but she should. She should and be like, I'm here every day to deliver to you. No, I just have to teach her. But yes, I love to drink.
She should know, because that's how you move up in the filmmaking industry.
That's right.
Sucking
up. Right. You give me some Fizz.
That's how the director likes you and will hire you after, and you get from production assistant up by just bringing him coffee or, in Drew's case, soda. But
it's the casting cup.
Yeah. But I'm guessing you like bubbly liquids, right? That's
sure. I love carbonated drinks. I love them. My sodas.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly don't think I'd be drinking sodas if they weren't carbonated. The sugar's okay, but I like the fizziness of it. So this actually may be something I want to get. It is called the Bubble Cap, and it's the world's smallest carbonator device. And what it is you screw it onto a normal water bottle. It has threads for that, and on the other side, it has threads for either small CO2 canisters or a little bit, or some of those bigger canisters that you can get at home. And what you do is you screw both of them together, and then you can actually tilt the cap a little bit, and that will start pushing CO2 into the liquid and making whatever you have in there fizzy, because it's going to force the CO2 in it, and then you can just drink it like a soda. Most people will know of the Soda Stream. The problem with the Soda Stream is that it's not portable. You got to plug it in, and those CO2 canisters actually are pretty pricey. That's how they make their money.
But you could do this similar thing here, where just any bottle of water, you put this tiny thing on top and then carry around the CO2 part and just mix them.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, I love this. In the video, the guy actually just wears it around his neck while he's hiking, and then wherever he gets there, he just carbonates his water and he has a fizzy drink. I really love this idea. The only question I had is, because he says he has an adapter for these, let's see, how does it, CO2 tanks, sold under different labels. My question is, did he make them for the Soda Streams tanks, or did he make them more for the paintball tanks?
Oh, interesting.
Because quick life hack with you guys, if you guys don't want to buy the Soda Stream tanks, what you can do is, people sell adapters for the Soda Stream. You screw that in, and then you can go to the place where you buy your paintball CO2, which is a lot cheaper because they can refill the tanks. You buy one of those and use those, and when you're done, you just go back to the place and they'll fill it for like $1 or $2.
I had no idea.
So I'm hoping that they would, they fit more of the paintball ones, because that saves you a little bit of money. But I love how he's done it so you can use both. So you can use the mini cartridges that I've seen before too, or you can use kind of the full things if you're closer to home and stuff. Drew, do you see yourself getting one of these?
I mean, I'm usually like not without a fizzy drink because I find them, but I like the idea here because I often will get a drink and not finish it, or I'll put it somewhere and it'll unfizz. So I like the idea of being able to refizz my drinks. I could take something that I didn't quite finish, pop it in a bottle, kick it from the other side, and just snap it. I like that idea.
Yeah. So Winston in the chat's asking, can you make your flat soda fizzy again? Yes, you can.
Yes.
That's the beauty of this, is you can just revive it.
It's CPR for your soda. I love this idea.
Yeah. So like I love how small it is too, because some of those soda streams are like taking up some significant kitchen counter space. And if you're married and your significant other doesn't, values their counter space, that might be something I want to go.
And the less fights you have, the better. So anytime that you can agree on something, you just find happiness. Yeah, it's true.
Yep. So yeah, this is definitely a back for me, because I mean I love fizzy drinks. So this might help me, lose some weight, because I drink less soda.
Drink less soda. Less sugar. You can carbonate anything.
Yeah, I do it with apple juice, regular water, all that cool stuff. So is this one a backtrack or sack for you?
I think this is back for me. I think it's a unique and cool way to solve a problem where you take something that even is still kind of a trend, the big soda stream, and he's found a way to just personalize that. I think that's a fantastic move. So that's a back for me.
And it's from Finland, so you can trust them.
Yeah. It's cool.
All right. So that is all our projects today. So it's time for our sack of the week. And normally I don't pick projects that are unsuccessful because, well, they're unsuccessful. This one, I found this. Drew and I were like, yeah, we have to do this. This project is by Craig with 2 G's, Big E-O, and he wants to back up the internet. I'm going to burn the internet to DVDs, then send it to you for safekeeping. Keep the internet safe.
I can't stop. This is killing me.
Yeah, and he's like, the internet is all in one place in the cloud. My idea is to back it up to DVDs, then distribute these DVDs all over the world, thereby keeping the internet safe, backed up, and in the hands of people, not governments or Google's, Putin or NSA, just in case the cloud goes away. It could happen in a cyber war or hackers, or if the power went out at the wrong time. By participating in this Kickstarter, you're becoming a librarian, like the Librarian of Alexandria, or a piece of Noah's Ark. You will receive a unique DVD with a certain piece of internet burned to it, which you could store for the rest of your life, keeping that bit of the internet safe. If the internet dies, all the people in this Kickstarter can get back together and use the DVDs to recreate the internet
where it was.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, in 2015?
Hard copy.
We could recreate the internet where it was in 2015. Wow. He's been thinking about this one for a while. He just finally pulled the trigger. Now, here's the risk and the challenge, though. It might take a long time to burn all the DVDs. DVD burner might stop working, and he might also have to figure out how to automatically download a web page. But
he has to learn how to use wget.
It seems like to me at some point before he launched this product, he might have been able to answer these questions, like how do I automatically download a web page? How many DVDs will it take for me to back up the internet in 2015? Craig. I just feel like you really didn't think this one through before you threw it up here.
I also think he needs to go Google on how this cloud thing he mentioned works, because that's not how the internet works.
I have that fear. Like you said, if the power goes out at the wrong time, we could just lose it all. The whole internet would just disappear.
Cease to exist.
Wow. I gotta say, like, his heart's in a good place. But you and I joked that this might have been just like a drunken developer. Like, he was just like, I got a great idea. I'll put it out there. But overall, like, this is some pure entertainment for me.
Yeah,
I'll back it.
I love the dollar. You probably pledged $1. Wow, someone contributed $1, so I felt like there should be a reward for everyone. Which means he didn't even have the dollar reward prior to this. And you guys know how much of a pet peeve that is for me. Maybe you want to contribute but don't want a DVD. Why? In that case, I will email you a file from the internet. Thanks.
With a question mark. Oh, wow. And the estimated delivery of that file was 2019. So hope nothing happens between now and 2019.
Yeah, I hope I get a fresh file if I back that level. I don't want a stale file. I want something
Something good,
fresh,
right?
brand new, a headline or something.
Even on his $10 pledge, I will burn you a DVD full of the internet and send it to you for safekeeping. Sorry it's so expensive, but postage has really gotten out of control lately, right? I don't know. Has it? But this is just fun. Like, just to experiment and think, what part of the internet might I get, and how much would fit on like 4.7 gigs? Like, what part would I get?
Yeah,
I mean, I know what part I'd like. I would love to have the part of the internet that's
just all
the
you.
like, all the panda videos or all the cat videos or all me.
All the Drew videos, the Drew disc.
Yeah.
Pop in the T disc, everybody.
Winston says in the chat, I'll send you all my GeoCities pages.
Yeah,
that's stuff that I want. That's so funny.
Yeah, I love how he only had 500 as gold too. That's
right,
that's impressive. The one thing he never answered though is DVDs go bad. So like, what's the solution
Not
for
gonna
that?
last forever. That's true. That's true.
Yeah, so that is backing up the internet. Unfortunately, I just it didn't work.
No, it never landed. Rev said, knowing my luck, the disc I would get would be full of double burst podcasts.
Oh, I could send you those now.
Yeah, you can back that up on your own. Oh, this is hilarious. I like this guy.
Yep. So that is that. And unfortunately, that is the end of the show, Drew. I always enjoy having you here, my friend. Our next episode, if you guys want to watch live, because it's always fun to watch live, because we have interesting discussions on video production prior to the show that you won't hear here. Our next episode is going to be on September 12th. When Drew when Drew will start contemplating grading, but let's be honest, he's not going to.
No. 2 weeks into the semester, no. My record is almost 8 or 9 weeks, so I'll be fine.
So you'll still be refreshed before you don't do stacks of paper.
No, I watch videos.
Your playlist of videos gets too long.
Yep.
So make sure you guys, if you guys have any projects, sacks of the weeks, or anything you want us to mention on the show, really, shoot us an email, kickcast@ktdata.net, or leave it on our Facebook page, facebook.com/kickcast, or you can tweet us at Night20 for Drew, at KTData for myself, or at kickcast for the show. And again, kickcast.net has all our links and stuff, so you can go and back Scott's project, because you want to back Scott's project because it's awesome. And
good art.
If you make this happen, you'll make me happy, and I'm not even part of the project. All right, Drew, do you got anything to plug before we go?
Not this time around. I'm just getting back into the swing of schooling, and I'll plug something next time.
All right. So until next time, my friends, we'll see ya. Bye.
Bye. Bye.